And the Bushmen, how they do the hunting. So the Bushman hunts. But the Bushman, these guys have a little bow and arrow. I mean, it's a little childish thing. And ding, but they don't need power. They don't kill the animal. They have a special poison. They put it on the tip of the animal, on the tip of the arrow. They just creep up on the deer, ding, and the arrow just pops in like that. And it just gives them a prick, and then the arrow's there. And of course the animal runs off now. But it's just a slow poison, and it slowly puts the animal to sleep. And the Bushmen hunt it. They just track it now. They track it, and they might track it for 1 or 2 days. But the animal slowly goes to sleep in that time. And in that time, the Bushman, see, these are shaman. They're living in a unified world. They're talking to the animal. They're connecting their spirit to the animal. They're talking to the animal and they're thanking the animal. You know, they're appreciating it. They're connecting with the spirit of the animal. They're creating a bond. There's a bond with the animal. You see, you've got to understand. When you've gone to this disconnect, you're losing the connection. These guys have got a deep love for the animals. A love that the vegans cannot comprehend. They think they can, but they can't. I know, because I've done both sides. I've got a deeper love for the animals than I've ever had when I was vegetarian. Anyway, so they track it and they pray to it, and when they finally find the animal, the animal's sleeping, it's on its way out, it's completely, it's completely unconscious, it's in the spirit world, and they stroke it, they pray to it, and they give thanks to it, and they let it, and then they dispatch it, and they do it, but they're feeling let the spirit pass on, live on. And the way I see it, you see, you're allowing the spirit of this animal to live on through you. So this is my little shamanic way of doing it. I'm allowing the animal to come and live inside my spirit. And inside my spirit, inside my soul, there's a paradise. I've created a paradise of energy, and the animal comes and lives inside my paradise. And I'm allowing it to live forever. I'm giving it you see, we as self-aware, we are self-aware. This makes us a higher level of soul. The animal is not quite self-aware. It has a connection. So it's very hard for an animal to achieve the self-awareness, a transmutation into a self-contained non-physical spirit. It's hard for an animal to do this. The animal just continues its cycle of becoming another animal, or it's a group soul. When I eat the animal, I'm giving it a blessing of allowing it to advance through me. It's a very different approach. And if you don't understand this, you'll take some meditation to understand this. But think of it as this. You just give a prayer of thanks to the animal. Thanks for the sacrifice of the life. It's not really a sacrifice because I'm honoring it in my body. And here we go again. This goes to cannibalism. You wouldn't do this to another human. That's evil. And again, no, you wouldn't. We don't go eating. Self-aware beings don't do that to each other. There's a reason, because at a level of self-awareness, that other being has the ability to continue. So you're not giving them a blessing if you dispatch them. You're stealing that. But there is still another way. You're still not black and white. Again, I've got to take you to the wild man, the ancient ways. And there's a movie you can watch. I thoroughly recommend this movie. It's called The Emerald Forest. Emerald Forest. And it's a true story. It's a true story about a guy whose son gets lost in the Amazon rainforest. And of course they think he's kidnapped by a tribe. He's kidnapped by a wild tribe in the Amazon forest. But of course the Amazon forest people think they're saving him. They're rescuing him. And it's a story of the father spending 10 years to try and find his son lost in the Amazon rainforest. But when he finds his son is truly living in a society that is so remarkable. He ultimately, I don't want to tell you the end, but it's such a moving movie. I've got it. I can hardly ever watch it because I can't stop crying after I watch this movie. I'm crying now thinking about it. But this is this is the real way we're supposed to live. We lost that. Anyway, these guys, these tribes, these two wild tribes in the jungle. So right. The tribe he joins is called the Invisible. They call themselves the Invisible people. They're the gentle people. They move around carefully in the forest. They try and be invisible. And there's another tribe called the fierce people. So there are already tribes that are aggressive, and the fierce people go around enslaving them. You know, we've always got this. Some are after destruction. They've got a bit more low level. And some are a bit more after this. They're a bit more peaceful. They're internal. There's always that. So we always need self-defense. So this son, this guy, was brought up by the invisible people. These were the peaceful ones. And they had a process of connecting to their ancestors. So whenever they had difficulty, they would come round to the fire, they'd drink the psychedelic juice, they'd go into a trance and they'd get the messages. But when they had real trouble, they had to connect to their deep ancestors. And all their dead ones, their loved ones in the past, they'd cremate them, and they'd get the ashes, and they had one communal urn, and they buried it deep. They'd dig out this urn, and in that urn was all the communal ashes, and they'd add the next one to the urn and rebury it. But in the times of dire need, they would have to access their own ancestors. And what they would do is dig up the urn. And they would take out some of the ashes, and they would put the ashes in water, mix it, and they'd all sit in the group, and they'd all drink the ashes. So again, this is cannibalism. But it's not. It's on the higher level, because they know body and spirit. There's no separation. There's no life and death. It's only us who've got this squeamishness. This arbitrary ethics, and that would connect them to the ancestor. They would re-ingest particles of the previous beings. The bones, the particles, the molecules of the previous beings have got some information, and the new person ingests it. You see, again, in terms of eating meat, you are eating, if you can eat raw meat, you're eating living mitochondria. You're increasing your mitochondria. They're in there. You're eating bacteria. We need to eat. So what kind of meat do we need to eat? We need to eat high welfare organic meat. Ideally, you know the farm, and you know the farmer loves the animals and does it all in a nice way. You see, we've got religion now. Religion as well eats meat. They're different. I don't want to say them, but they've got religious ways of dispatching the animal, and they say, oh, it's religious. It's not. It's extremely cruel. They have no care for the animal, and at the end they just watch it die. There's no real love there. It's brutal. But that is where I was telling you that arbitrary ethics has messed us up. There's no understanding of what you're doing. There's no understanding of what you're doing. You've got to love the animal, you look after it, and you know these farmers, they will go through the animals, they continually grow them, dispatch them, but they love them because they love the process of this. They love the process of this. And if you have a pet animal, a pet dog or a pet cat, you know that doesn't live forever. And when the pet passes on, and the animals have that, the farmers have that, the sheepdogs, they need useful animals, but they pass on, they have new ones, they keep breeding them. They love the whole animal kingdom. See, here in our garden here, I feed the birds. But the birds, also I've got other things, that I've got birds of prey that catch those birds. And of course we got a cat, so the cat catches those birds. So we've got a whole ecosystem. So we feed everything in the ecosystem. We can't worry about each one dying. We have to keep the whole ecosystem, the whole thing flowing. So this is about the ethics of eating meat. And once you've got over that, then you know you can do it. But now let me explain how this works, because diet is important.